message from God's Word. Here is Friends Fellowship Assembly Online, where we reveal Christ, rebuild lives, and revive nations. Welcome.
Welcome again to our channel today, and we are going to share the Word of God briefly from the book of Ruth, chapter number 1, and I will read verse 1 to verse 8. It says, "Now it came to pass, in the days when the judges ruled, that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife, and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. And they dwelt there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died, also both of them, and the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me." This brings us to our topic today. We're going to talk about the dealings of God. And when we look into the life of Naomi, just like any other woman in our day and time, there's nothing as sad as losing your husband. And apart from losing your husband, you actually lose your children too, within a span of 10 years. It was not an easy season, but today I want you to know that the dealings of God always in our lives are redemptive and not punitive. There are times we see the dealings of God as punitive because there are things that are not very clear to us. Today, if I look into your life and I ask you straight to your eyes, that when you look at your life the past 10 years, where you had been, the things that God has dealt with in your life and in my life, of course, each and every one of us will have a testament of how there are times that you were in valleys that you never thought that you will ever come out, but the Lord was faithful and just lifted you from them, walked you through the fires. And at times, we can even say sincerely that at times we thought it was the devil. We thought that there was something wrong with our lives. But when we begin to look back, we see how God was dealing with our hearts, dealing with our attitudes, dealing with our minds, dealing with our belief systems, dealing with our limitations according to our cultures. And today, I just want to bring the story of Naomi and her 2 daughters-in-law to our attention because it's something that resonates with us. You might have not probably lost a husband, but in the span of 10 years, there's something you've lost. Probably you've lost friends, you've lost a job, you've lost something precious to you, you've lost a parent. And all these things, when we look at them, we at times can't make sense of everything that is happening. That was the same place that Naomi was. But apparently, Naomi was in a land where people did not worship the God that she knew. But Moab was a land where people believed in other gods. And it is the place where they ran to when there was famine, where they came from, the land of Israel. And when we begin to read this story, we begin to understand that there are times, some of the losses we have gone through, it is because that probably we moved away at some point from God's presence. We moved away from worshiping God, the only God. Probably there's an opportunity that presented itself, and it looked better than just being in church and serving God. Serving God never made sense because it looked like you are not making any progress. But we serve a God that is a God of mercy. Just like Naomi had reached a place where she gave up and she told her daughters-in-law, by the way, even if I get a husband today and I give birth to children, you cannot wait for them to grow so that they can remarry you. So I want to set you free. I want you to go back to your land, worship your gods, and continue with your lives. You're still young. And there are those points in life and in the line of serving God, we feel like, yeah, I think I need to live my life. I have served God and nothing good is coming out of this. But I want to assure you that just like Naomi decided to go back to where they worship the God of heaven, to where they were taught the values of God, I will ask you today, return to the presence of God, because God has been dealing with your heart. And let me tell you, even if the enemy was doing, or is intending to do anything negative in your life, God has the tendency, because of his mercies and his love towards us, because of his purpose for our lives, he has the tendency of turning everything, every negative thing around and using it for his glory in our lives. So even so, you think that you have fallen so far away. Naomi thought that she doesn't deserve the love of God. She doesn't deserve the love of everyone or anyone because of what she has gone through. Probably you're there and you're asking yourself, do I even, probably I deserve the way people treat me. Probably I don't deserve friends. But Naomi did something that encouraged me. She went back to the place where she was taught to worship God. Naomi had lost everything. When she goes back to their land, she says that I went out full, but I'm coming back empty. Some of you and some of us, probably when we were in the world, when we lived other lives, we seem to have it all together. But when we decided to turn our lives to God, things have never been tougher. Things have been challenging. Life has not been the same. I will encourage you, do not give up, because God will send you a helper. The helper that God sent in the life of Naomi was a lady that was one of the daughters-in-law that refused to go back to her people, and said, I am not leaving you. Where you go, I will go. Your people shall become my people. Because I had already made up my mind. I was not only married to your son, but I also love you as a mother. I'd want to serve you, because right now you don't have anyone with you. And God will bring you destiny helpers. God will bring you people that will encourage you. And one of the things that we need to understand is that when God brings people around us, we need to pray that God will help us treat these people with utmost respect, with utmost honor, because it is the Ruth serving the mother-in-law. I believe that God was also dealing with her heart because of where she was intended to go. God intended her to go, because later on we see that her marital destiny opened up. And it did not just happen. There was a process that followed through. There's a process that I want to believe that Ruth was mourning just as the mother-in-law was mourning. It's only that probably to the mother-in-law it was heavier because this was the husband and the sons. But Ruth also had lost her husband. And in the process of mourning, she allowed God to model her. She allowed God to work in her. And because of that, she listened to the mother-in-law. Now the mother-in-law probably became like the mentor to Ruth. That imagine, even in your down times, God can send you mentors. In your lowest moments, God can send you helpers. And even as that happens, I just want to encourage you. I know you're there, you're looking at me and wondering, is this even making sense? If God was able to restore Naomi, because at the end of the second chapter, we see her rejoicing, because things now began opening up. Why? Because she kept on instructing. When she went back to the place where they worshiped God, her original land, her sensitization to what God was leading her was awakened. There are things that will never awake as long as we are away from the presence of God. You want to hear the voice of God, go back into his presence. God speaks. He speaks to us because we are his children. He's not a father that just keeps quiet. He speaks to us. And therefore, I'd want to encourage you, go back to the presence of God. You will hear his voice. You will hear his instruction. He will lead you to new relationships. He will lead you to people that will encourage you, to people that will strengthen you, people that will pray with you. And therefore, I just want you to understand that the dealings of God are never punitive, but they're always redemptive. There's an end plan that God has. He knows the end from the beginning. So don't despair. Don't even your speech, let not your speech be like that of Naomi, that I came back, I came here full, but I'm coming back empty. I'm coming back to the presence of God empty. Yes, He will fill you up again. And when God brings you around mentors, people that you can learn from, I want you to learn, number one, I want you to learn to follow every instruction that they give you, because mentors are people that have been where we are intending to go. So listen to every instruction that they're giving you. And then secondly, when God is dealing with us, He causes us to be a blessing even to the people around us. Ruth was mourning, but God caused Ruth to be a blessing to the mother-in-law. So even in your dealing, in that season that God is dealing with you, God makes you a blessing to the people around you. Don't be so swallowed up in your moment, in your seasons, that you forget that there's still something within you that God can use to bless the other people around you. Number 3, I want you to understand that one of the greatest battles we will ever fight in our lives is the battle against family. And therefore, when you understand that, your life is destined for greatness. Your life, you know, if you decide to stand today, God will save generations, not only for your family, but also families that will come out of your generations. So stand firm. Let God deal with you, and let you be the person that God can count on. And then lastly, I will say that due to the obedience of Naomi, due to the obedience of Ruth to Naomi, her marital destiny opened up. So even in this season, there are things that when you're able to listen to the people that God will bring you around, because I'm sure God will send helpers in your season. He will help you. He is our help in times of need. He will send you help. And when He sends you help, be obedient to the place that you'll be obedient, that it will open up other doors that you never thought possible, because God is a faithful Father. So just understand that even in this season, as God is dealing with you, do not run away. Go through the process. Allow yourself to go through the process of God, because at the end, we will all rejoice. Have a blessed time in God. I will encourage you to subscribe to our channel if you've not yet subscribed, and like and share whatever you hear from this channel that I know is blessing you. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us today. Please feel free to subscribe to our channels, like and share our videos. God bless you.